Evening, Chad.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Staunton City Council work session for June 9th, 2022. The first item was the annual visit to Betsy Bell. We took a break in which we did a dedication for Elders Way, which was very nice. And the next item, on June 8th, 2022, I received a request from Councilor Dole to participate remotely in the June 9th, 2022 Staunton City Council meeting due to a temporary medical condition that prevents her physical attendance at the meeting. I will now entertain a motion to allow Councilor Dole's remote participation in this meeting pursuant to Staunton City Council Procedural Memorandum Number 3.
Mayor Oakes.
Councilor Meade.
I move to allow Councilor Dahl to remotely participate in the June 9, 2022 Staunton City Council meeting due to a temporary medical condition.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Mayor Oakes, I second. It's Terry Holmes.
We have a second. Any further discussion? And hearing none, Mr. Kessiker, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Mr. Holmes.
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Ms. Meade.
Aye.
Mr. Claffey.
Aye.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Councilor Dole, will you please state the remote location from which you are participating?
1003 East Beverly Street, Staunton.
Thank you. Could everyone in the audience as well as on council hear Councilor Dole?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, welcome. All right, that takes us to the next item, which is the consideration of the work session and regular meeting agendas. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor Oakes.
Councilor Brenda Meade.
I move to remove item 4 from the work session agenda, a closed meeting for consultation with legal counsel.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Mayor Oakes, I'll second that. This is Terry Holmes.
All right, we have a second. Any further discussion? And hearing none, Mr. Kessiker, please call the roll.
Mr. Claffey.
Aye.
Ms. Dole.
Aye.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Ms. Meade.
Aye.
Mr. Holmes.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. That means item number 4 on the work session agenda has been removed. That takes us to item number 3, the city manager search process update.
Mayor Oakes, I'm sorry, you still need a motion to approve the agenda
I'm
as
sorry.
amended.
Okay, that is correct. Thank you for the point of clarification. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
I move to approve the work session agenda and the regular meeting agenda as amended for the June 9th, 2022 meeting.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Mayor Oakes, I'll second.
All right, Councilor Darby has second. Any further discussion? And hearing none, Mr. Kessiker, please call the roll.
Mr. Holmes.
Aye.
Mr. Claffey.
Aye.
Ms. Dole.
Aye.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Ms. Meade.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. That takes us to item 3, the city manager search process update. I will turn this over to our acting interim city manager and city attorney, John Blair.
Thank you, Mayor Oakes. John Venn from the Department of Human Resources is here to conduct this item.
Good evening. Thank you. This evening, I believe we have Ann Lewis, who is director with Baker Tilly, who will be leading the city manager search for the city of Staunton. Ann, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. I guess at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to you to kind of guide council members in terms of next steps, and then give them an opportunity to ask you any questions they may have at this point.
Welcome, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Venn.
Can you hear us?
Thank you. I will state that from my remote location, I'm going to turn off my video if that's acceptable for a period of time. Due to my remote location, it optimizes my connection if I'm not connected with my video. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have prepared a memo regarding a question that was posed to me for when to start the search. And there are certainly two options that I see, in that you can launch the city manager recruitment now, or if you would like to wait till after your November election. And there are certainly benefits or potential issues related to either of the timing. As your consultant, we are under your direction to start the search when you find most optimal for the city, and you know your city better than I do. And while I present some benefits and potential issues, those are things for you to consider as an elected body, and hopefully provides you some insight on when to launch the city manager search. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have as a result of the memo that I provided to you.
Madam Mayor.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
And thank you very much, Mark Robertson. Could you just go over real quick the pluses and minuses of either of those options?
Yes, sir, I can. Option number one is to launch the city manager search now. You know, we're heading into the summer season, and some families or some candidates might prefer to go through a search now so that they can move if they are the selected candidate, and if it is a candidate from outside of the area, they can move and begin the school year for their children in fall. We find that children during a school year, and if they are selected as a candidate later on, they may move initially, but have their family stay back in their current living arrangement until that school year ends, so as to provide some continuity for their family. As you know, the budget season will also be soon underway, even though we're not quite finished yet this fiscal year. But having a search last 3 to 4 months, if you begin your search now, then you will have a city manager in place that will be able to participate more fully in the budget preparation. And as you know, we have a search underway in Harrisonburg, Virginia. We will be soon launching a search in Bath County, Virginia. And I have had several discussions for candidates in the searches in Virginia and North Carolina who are very much interested in this area of the country. And so there are candidates that are ready to move at this point in time and consider this area of the country for their next professional step in their career. Now, that being said, entering the summer months is vacation time. And particularly after the last 2 years, we have found that candidates are protecting that time when they are resting, relaxing, and getting away from their work. And we would want to make sure that we communicate a timeline so that they're fully aware and can participate. We recognize it is challenging to get you together as an elected body, and are not going to be able to really make a lot of flexibility for candidates in their activities. And so if we do launch the search now, we'll want to be mindful of a timeline that may impact summer. But really this next 30 to 60 days will be development of the profile and outreach to candidates in those first steps of the recruitment process. The second option is to launch after the November election. And we could begin those activities prior to that and have some input so that when the election is concluded, those candidates have the opportunity to weigh in on the materials that we have prepared, and we could incorporate any of the suggestions that they may have. And so that by the time they are sworn in after January 1, 2023, we could potentially be vetting candidates shortly thereafter, so as to, again, continue that process without much lapse in time, or lapse in activity rather. And as you know, your interim city manager will have served for 11 months by that time frame and provided continuity in the role, which is very helpful. Candidates are looking at the city. They are watching your council meetings. They are doing their homework to see if Staunton is a place where they would like to be. And so having that continuity in place shows them the stability in the organization. Of course, keeping your interim city manager in place has an opposite effect as well, in that some candidates may feel like your interim city manager is going to be a strong candidate or strong and not apply, thinking it is a quote unquote done deal. But that varies obviously from candidate to candidate. If you wait until after the November election, your budget season is well underway, and the next city manager is not going to have a lot of ability to make recommendations that may impact the budget, but obviously relying on the professional staff that you have that have put together the budget with your guidance and recommendations. And also, conversely, with the summer holiday season, you'll have the winter holiday season as well. And you'll want to, I think candidates will continue to protect that time with their families. And we'll just want to time our activity so that the work is more on my end over that time frame, so that we can continue to have a robust candidate pool and allow time for them to complete their application materials and do their due diligence about Staunton during that time frame. I hope that answers your question, Councilmember.
It does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for Ms. Lewis?
Madam Mayor.
Councilor Claffey.
And have we started anything as far as posting? Has anybody contacted you saying, you know, we understand that you're going to be involved in the search process for the Staunton city manager position?
No official documents have been posted because I don't know exactly what you're looking for as an elected body. That being said, I am initiating my conversations with people that I know are interested in a professional move at this time. And at times we will post a LinkedIn message that may say coming soon, Staunton, Virginia, but I want it out there too soon, not knowing whether it was going to be now or November. And I just want to make sure that I'm setting the stage for candidates so they have a complete understanding of our timing in the process.
Once you post, how rapidly do you think we would be at the interview stage?
Once I post the position, I leave that advertised for 30 days for the advertising outlets to post the position, for candidates to review the materials, and for them to put an application package together. It then takes me about 2 weeks to review their materials and ask candidates to participate in additional activities. And I would then provide you a semifinalist report. So at about 6 or 7 weeks, you'll be reviewing the group of candidates who I believe are the most qualified for the position. Generally, you take about 2 weeks to review materials, or at least over a weekend. You're going to be reviewing about 10 candidates, their cover letter, their resume, their responses to written questions, and a video interview should you wish to have the video interview. The video interview could take up to about 9 minutes per candidate. So at 10 candidates, you have a lot of materials that will give you a well-rounded view of the candidates. And I want to make sure that you have enough time to review that. So about 8 weeks in, you'll be selecting candidates who you'd like to invite for an interview process.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Yeah. And the other, Mark, again, the other question I have, I have a feeling I know how you'll answer it, but you stated that your organization is currently in the process of interviewing or looking for a city manager for Harrisonburg as well as Bath, I think you said.
Correct.
how does that, I mean, is your organization, or are you going to be busy doing that? Will your organization have enough time to commit to Staunton?
We absolutely have the time.
If we decide to go do it now.
Yes, absolutely. We absolutely have the time. One of my colleagues is working on the Harrisonburg search. And on average, we carry about 5 to 7 searches at a time because they are at various stages in the process. So we can launch multiple searches as an individual consultant, and we can manage that number of projects at any single time.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Holmes.
Ann, this is Terry Holmes. A couple of questions. One, I think it would probably be best if they were the new city manager was in place before we start our budget, because I think they would, just get their foot in the door and get used to being here without having the budget dropped right on them at the beginning. But also, would you, if you're searching for candidates for Bath and Harrisonburg, those same candidates could also be possible for here, right?
That's correct. I mean, depending upon the opportunities, the professional opportunities that are offered in Staunton, they may have an interest in the community. We often see that city managers stay in municipal leadership, but that's not to say that there isn't crossover between cities and counties. So there may be a similar applicant pool, but Staunton offers different things than Bath and Harrisonburg, and it's its own unique community. So there may be candidates who are not in both searches, but have chosen to only pursue one search over another.
Another question too is, I was hoping that we would be further along than what we are now. And maybe it's probably our fault because we haven't, been putting it as, out there as much as we should. But, it's going to be like a year. Like you said, 11 months is a long time to use the assistant city manager as a city manager. So like you said, I would think a lot of people would think that we're probably going to stay with her. Do you think that would be a problem if we are recruiting?
It is all in the perspective of the candidates. I certainly can talk candidates through the approach that council may choose to take if you wait till after the election. And that's understandable because a candidate may want to see who they are working for with a potential turnover in the seats. So it really can go either way. Candidates understand what elections are about and that each search really is unique, and you make decisions as an elected body in what's the best interest for your community. So I can't say that it's I can't tell you which I believe might be the right way to go, but rather just point out the impact of the potential thought process of some candidates.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
This is Carolyn Dole.
Councilor Dole.
I frankly was surprised that nothing had been done because the last city manager was fired months ago, and I thought that more was going on, but clearly I was out of the loop. I think it's really important that we get this moving because I think citizens will be suspect of us dragging our feet for some unknown reason. And so I think it's good to go ahead with the process and keep it moving. And whoever the city manager turns out being, I think it's critical that they not be thrown in after the budget process is already at least 50% completed, if not more. I think that's crucial.
For the record, the previous city manager resigned. Mr. Vin, so tonight you and Ms. Lewis are looking for some direction from this council as far as whether or not to move forward at this time or to hold off until after the November elections?
Excuse me. That is my understanding. Yes.
Okay. All right.
I think we need to either pull the trigger and let's go, or if the decision by city council is to wait until, as Ms. Lewis shared, November, that's certainly an option that you all can entertain as well. But I do think we need to make a decision one way or the other this evening.
I do see some merit in having the new council members to be able to weigh in on this matter. I also can understand having a new city manager coming in and working on a budget, but hopefully whomever we choose will be familiar with working with budgets from any locality. All right.
Mayor, I'm thinking,
Councilor Holmes.
I'm just thinking too that we're going to have a new financial officer. So, I mean, you know, the sooner you get somebody in place, because, you know, we're lucky Leslie has financial background, you know, and was real active in developing this budget, you know, so, and if it doesn't end up being Leslie, then it could really be a lot of getting to know each other and fast, you know. And so I don't know. I would prefer we move with it as fast as we can, you know.
Okay. All right.
Mayor.
Vice Mayor Roberts.
After listening to Ms. Lewis and everything she had to say, that would be my vote, is to pull the trigger and let's get this going.
All right. How about everybody else?
I agree with that, but just as a question, when does budget season officially start?
Now,
Is that a question?
October.
Well, and I'll speak up here. I do think the current vacancy in the CFO position may affect that in some way. I think Ms. Beauregard is obviously wearing a lot of hats now, and she was deep in that process. And without a CFO, I think traditionally it is October when things really start to get going. But again, without a CFO, you have to be careful because, again, she's currently, Ms. Beauregard would be probably the primary budget person now.
Hey, anyone else?
I'm fine going ahead and moving forward with this process.
All right. Councilor Darby. All right. Councilor Meade.
I agree. I think we should move forward and do so quickly.
I'm in agreement as well. So Ms. Lewis and Mr. Venn, if you guys can go ahead and start moving forward immediately, we would appreciate it.
So, Ann, I will reach out to you tomorrow. I'll shoot you an email. We can connect in terms of next steps, if that would work for you.
Yes, that works for me.
Okay. I will be in touch tomorrow morning.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John,
Mr. Venn.
You have how are we coming as far as looking for CFO?
He just left. I will be working with Ms. Beauregard when she returns on Monday, going over the job description so we make sure we get everything right before we advertise, and looking at where we advertise. As everybody knows, it's a difficult time right now to recruit, especially for a position that is CFO position. So I would hope that we would have something going sometime early to mid next week.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I mean, I miss Phil. I've been missing Phil ever since I heard. So, and I'm not really in that big of a hurry to replace him because I liked him, but I just worry about, getting somebody in that position.
It's going to be a difficult process. I mean, and as everybody shared, Ms. Beauregard does have a background which helps out, but there's only so many hats she can wear. And Mr. Blair over there as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Van,
Yes, ma'am.
will you, are you thinking about engaging a search firm for that?
That's could be after I speak with Ms. Beauregard. That could be an option, and we certainly can do that. If that is the case, again, I would have to speak with Mr. Horvath in terms of procurement, in terms all just like what we did with this,
Sure. Yeah.
in terms of what that would be. Obviously, that would kind of delay the process, but again, there are some search firms out there that would have a wider reach as to who they can connect with for a position like that. And it's, as Mr. Blair said, it's a critical position. You all know that.
Great, thank you. It is now 6:26 and we are on break. We will be back at 7:15 for the regular Staunton City Council meeting.
7:15 or
7:30.
Y'all don't want to come back early? Come on.
Only if it gets us out of here earlier.
7:30. As the mayor of the city of Staunton, I call the Staunton City Council regular meeting of June 9th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. to order. And our first item is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would like to stand for the pledge, please do.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the next item is the invocation, moment of silence, and tonight is Vice Mayor Robertson.
Thank you. Tonight I will be reading a Christian prayer. So if you would like to participate, if you would, please bow your head. Dear wise and loving Father, first let me say thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health we need to fulfill our callings, for sustenance, and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thanks as well for the freedom to embrace you or the freedom to reject you. Thank you for loving us even so from your boundless and gracious nature. In the scriptures, you have said that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities, since you have established those very authorities to promote peace and order and justice. Therefore, I pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for this assembled council. I am asking that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our time, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in their lives and joy in their task. I pray for the agenda set before us today. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Staunton. It is in your most blessed name I pray. Amen.
Right, thank you. Next is the mayor's report, and the first item is a proclamation for Juneteenth. City of Staunton, Virginia proclamation, Juneteenth, June 19th. Whereas it is well documented that Africans were enslaved and forcibly brought to the land that would later become the United States, beginning in the early 1600s and continuing for over 200 years, becoming the main cause of the Civil War. And whereas, although President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation was issued on January 1, 1863 in Texas, many slaveholders continued to enslave Black people after the announcement. And whereas, on June 19, 1865, Union soldiers led by Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, with news that the Civil War had ended. And whereas, African Americans who had been enslaved celebrated June 19th, also known as Emancipation Day, Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Juneteenth Independence Day, and Black Independence Day, as a symbolic date representing African American freedom. And whereas Juneteenth also serves as a reminder of the work yet to come that will be necessary in order to ensure a more equitable world for future generations. And whereas Juneteenth has been celebrated by Texans since 1866, it became a Virginia state and federal holiday in 2021. And whereas the Shenandoah Valley Juneteenth Celebration Committee began hosting an annual celebration of Juneteenth in Staunton, Virginia in 2017, and whereas Staunton City Council recognizes that the observance of the end of the American slavery is a part of the history and heritage of the United States, and acknowledges the significance of Juneteenth as a federal, state, and citywide day of celebration. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Staunton City Council that June 19th, 2022 is hereby recognized as Juneteenth in the city of Staunton, and Council encourages all residents to join together in celebration and solidarity, and urges all residents to actively raise their own awareness of the significance of this celebration in African American history and in its heritage in our nation and city. Adopted this 9th day of June, 2022, signed Andrea W. Oakes, Mayor. Now, George Hunter is the co-coordinator and events director of the Shenandoah Valley Juneteenth celebration. Mr. Hunter, would you like to come to the podium, please?
How you doing? This one? Is this one? How is everyone doing this evening?
Wonderful.
Very good.
Yes. I'm gonna make this very, very brief. One of the things that has always been in our life and in the world we live in is freedom itself. And we've seen because I wasn't born back in 1865, because if I was, I wouldn't be here right now. But if I was, I sure would look good, wouldn't I? But one thing that has challenged us from the past and even in today's time is that solid word of freedom. And with everything that is going on in our country, with the shootings, everywhere we go, that is freedom that is taken away from us, taken away from wherever we go. And I appreciate that prayer you read, even though it was a read prayer, but it was synonymous and it was eloquently spoken in the world we live in. And everywhere we go, we should appreciate not just coming to a city council meeting, going out to dinner, going to a shopping mall, because everyone that has died in the past, whether it be from slavery or everyone that has died here lately due to gunshots, thought their day was, thought they was free, thought they was going to keep on going. And I did this and I'm done. So I made, took the word freedom and add in each letter that I did is how we should go forward in our life in today's time.
so we can appreciate each other going forward. So freedom, F, means fight. We got to continue, and I don't mean fists, but I mean we need to continue to fight for change, continue to fight for what we know is right. R means to restore our humanity, because humanity has been shaken. E means equality. We want to all feel like we are equal. We want to feel like things are not just better on this side than this side. The other E stands for inclusiveness. Means when we're together, we want to all feel like we're connected in a way without being different. D means determination. So in all this change, we have to stay determined. We have to want to see change happen. So we have to be determined and not let whatever comes in our way stop it. Because once whatever happens stops us, then everything is up in smoke. O means we have to be obligated. You tell your kids all the time, if you over have kids, when I tell you something, you got to stay obligated. It's almost like going to a job. And the last one, and the number one, we got to appreciate this moment now, because what happened in the past, if it keeps happening, we won't have a future. So I thank you for this time, and may God bless you and heaven smile upon you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. George, if you want to stay, feel free. If you have something else to do, you will not insult us if you leave. Right. The next item is a proclamation, the LGBTQ plus Pride Month in the Shenandoah LGBTQ Center. City of Staunton, Virginia proclamation, LGBTQ plus Pride Month in the Shenandoah LGBTQ Center. Whereas our nation was founded on the principle of equal rights for all people, but the fulfillment of this promise has been long in coming for many Americans. And whereas the historical riot at Stonewall in New York City on June 28, 1969 is recognized as the beginning of the modern day LGBTQ plus civil rights movement. And as a result, for more than 50 years, June has been celebrated as LGBTQ plus Pride Month nationwide. And whereas everyone should be able to live without fear of prejudice, discrimination, violence, and hatred based on race, ethnicity, religion, class, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, mental or physical disability, and to be supported by their peers, educators, and community leaders. And whereas the fabric of our community is strengthened when we center the values of equity, inclusion, justice, diversity, acceptance, and kindness, not only during this month of remembrance, patronage, and recognize, but throughout the year and beyond. And whereas Staunton has a diverse LGBTQ plus community and is committed to uplifting the voices and dignity for all people in the community. And whereas the Shenandoah LGBTQ Center of Staunton, Virginia was established in July of 2018 by Christopher Wood to address the unique challenges faced by the rural LGBTQ plus community, and is a community-based organization that strengthens this community through advocacy, education, programs, and safe spaces. And whereas the center has served countless members of the community since its inception and continues to offer programs and support for individuals of any age through all phases of their journey as LGBTQ plus people. And whereas, consistent with the efforts of the center, the city of Staunton strives to be a community where everyone is celebrated for our differences rather than limited by what might divide us. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by Staunton City Council that the entire month of June 2022 is hereby designated as LGBTQ plus Pride Month in the city of Staunton, and Council honors the Shenandoah LGBTQ Center and its work to serve the LGBTQ plus community, encourages the citizens of Staunton to celebrate their diverse community and joins our LGBTQ plus community in celebrating the resilience of LGBTQ plus people of all ages. Adopted this 9th day of June, 2022, signed Andrea W. Oakes, Mayor. And Antu Nguyen is the Executive Director of the Shenandoah LGBTQ Center. If you would like to join me at the podium.
Hello, everyone. Can folks
Hello.
hear me? Yes. Okay, great. I'm a little short, so I might have to move it. So let me put together some thoughts. Good evening. Mayor Oakes, on behalf of the Shenandoah LGBTQ Center Board of Directors and of its staff, please accept our appreciation for the recognition of this month. This month is so important to many of us in the Stanton community, me included. I have had countless conversations with LGBTQ plus community members who have had to live their lives in the margins for fear of losing a job, for being cast out of their family, or for fear of violence. We appreciate the opportunity you all have provided for continued visibility and especially of the opportunity for education. We are so much more than the flattened, one-dimensional representations that we commonly see in the media. Our community is more than parades and of rainbows on merchandise. Our lives, our journeys are richly nuanced, linked to a dark history and struggle for equal rights. But more importantly, our lives are marked with a radical joy and a deep belief that we can exist and belong beyond the boxes that society has placed us in. Pride Month is a joyful month of uplifting LGBTQ culture and voices. But to me, it is also a month to be bold, to reignite our commitment to build a more inclusive and welcoming world for those still facing prejudice and inequality, and to build this world for generations beyond us. We hope that this proclamation signals a lasting commitment on the part of Staunton City Council and of its citizens to continually work towards a community that does indeed center values of equity and of justice. May people of all genders and identities feel that they can celebrate who they are without fear. Our work will not be done until they can. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Say, Antu Nguyen is our newest commissioner for the newly formed Equity and Diversity Commission. So thank you for your willingness to serve on that most important commission. All right. The next item deals with the Staunton City Clerk of Council. Today is Kylie Kessaker's birthday, and I would like for everyone to please sing happy birthday to Kylie.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kylie. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Kylie.
Happy birthday.
Notice I pulled away from the microphone while singing.
Just where you wanted to spend your birthday.
That's right.
All right. The next item is additional items by members of council. Are there any additional items by members of council?
This is Carolyn Dole. I'll just say after that performance, don't y'all give up your day jobs.
Well, isn't that the truth? All right.
Madam Mayor.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Yeah. I thought long and hard about whether I was going to say this or not. And for the last year and a half, we've had lots and lots of people criticize us, come after us. They don't like some of our votes, and that's all right. It's absolutely all right. That is democracy. I even heard that the election of the so-called majority was the end of democracy. That is not true. That is democracy at its best. Absolutely, because one day the majority will go back the other way. I can assure you that will happen. People say, why is it so divisive? It says it used to be the city council was almost unanimous. Nothing ever got said. Well, I reckon not when you had a 6-1 majority. The other one couldn't even get a second. So that's why you had a lot of silence. I will tell you that this council, if you look, you really want to go back and look at the votes that were taken, probably 9-1 or 7-0. Every now and then you'll get a 6-1 in there. But there are disagreements. There are legitimate disagreements on certain issues of our time. And people say, why don't you vote with the rest of them? Well, if that was the case, then it wouldn't have been any reason for the citizens of Staunton to vote differently if we were to vote all along with the other. And I know you get upset when it doesn't go your way, and that's all right. Like I said, things will change, I'm sure. But I can tell you that we do as a council, and matter of fact, last meeting, we came to an agreement, a compromise. And we were very happy with that because it seemed to be the work the best. But I can assure you there are going to be items that you're not going to like, and there will be 4-3 votes. But I said, that is what democracy is all about. The sausage making sometimes isn't pretty, but that's all right. So I'm sure you'll continue to criticize, and that's all right as well. But just simply realize that this is what democracy is all about. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other additional comments by council members? Hearing none, we'll move on to the approval of minutes. The first set of minutes is the special meeting of May 23rd, 2022. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor Oakes,
Councilor Meade.
I move to approve the minutes of the special meeting of May 23rd, 2022.
All right. Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor,
Vice Mayor Robertson.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a second. Any further discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Cleffy.
I was absent, so I will be abstaining.
All righty. Thank you. Mr. Kessicker, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Dahl.
Aye.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Ms. Meade.
Aye.
Mr. Holmes.
Aye.
Mr. Claffey.
Abstain.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you. We now have the approval of the minutes for the work session and regular meeting of May 26, 2022.
Mayor Oakes, I move to approve the minutes of the work session and regular meeting of May 26, 2022.
All right. We have a motion on the floor by Councilor Meade. Is there a second?
Mayor Oakes, I'll second that.
All right. Councilor Amy Darby, a second. Any further discussion?
Madam Mayor, again, I was absent, so I will abstain as well.
All right.
Same here, Mayor Oakes. I was absent.
So that's Councilor Claffey and Councilor Holmes. Mr. Kessicker, if you could please call the roll.
Ms. Dahl.
Aye.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Ms. Meade.
Aye.
Mr. Holmes.
Abstain.
Mr. Claffey.
Abstain.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That takes us to our regular meeting. The first item is item A, a consideration of ordinance to amend the FY 2022 budget ordinance for the city of Staunton by adding budget amendment number 4. I'll now turn to our acting interim city manager as well as our city attorney, Mr. Blair.
Thank you, Mayor Oakes. Good evening, and interim CFO Jesse Moyers will be presenting this item.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Madam Mayor, members of council, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. We're here to consider budget amendment number 4 for the fiscal year 22 budget. Budget Amendment number 4 was introduced and reviewed at the May 26th meeting, and it covers donations, grant awards, insurance recoveries, and our initial ARPA appropriation. Budget Amendment number 4 totals $2,775,299, of which approximately $2.7 million is the city portion, and a little over $76,000 is the school portion. This budget amendment does require a public hearing, which was properly advertised and conducted at the May 26th meeting. Details of this budget amendment have been summarized in your packet and include the following: $61,186 in general fund provisions, and that includes $52,617 for public safety and $8,569 for parks, recreation, and horticulture. CIP funding of $2 million, which appropriates ARPA funds for the emergency radio project. $100,000 for the community development fund, $5,474 for the grant fund, $368,000 for the water fund, $164,500 for the sewer fund, $64,868 for the education fund, and lastly, $11,272 for the cafeteria fund. The city manager recommends the approval of budget amendment number 4 as presented.
All right. Are there any questions? And hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Vice Mayor Robertson.
I move to adopt an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2022 budget by adding budget amendment number 4, totaling $2,775,299 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor.
Councilor Darby.
I second that.
All right. We have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Kessiker, please call the roll.
Mr. Holmes.
Aye.
Mr. Claffey.
Aye.
Ms. Dahl.
Aye.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Ms. Mead.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, that takes us to item B, a public hearing and consideration of a request by the city of Staunton for a special use permit at Gypsy Hill Park, 600 Churchville Avenue, under the provisions of section 18.30.0301 for the purpose of constructing a new bathroom facility. Mr. Blair.
Thank you, Mayor Oakes. Mr. Rhodes, Senior Planner for the City of Staunton, will be presenting this item.
Welcome, Mr. Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Oakes, City Council members. The mayor sounded a little excited when she presented this, our introduction to this item. The City of Staunton Parks and Recreation Department has requested a special use permit to demolish, relocate, and build a new bathroom building facility at Gypsy Hill Park. The property at the park is zoned R3 medium density residential, and in that district, public parks are permitted only by special use permit. Because this is new construction, it requires going through the special use permit process. Additional good news is that the project scope also includes the renovation of 2 other existing bathrooms, one next to the pool and also one next to the Kiwanis ball fields. However, the matter before council tonight is the one new bathroom at the north end of the park. The Parks and Rec is planning to demolish the existing one and relocate that next to the picnic pavilion. The project designers have used the recently constructed concession stand as an example as they designed the new bathroom buildings and renovations. I would note that City Planner Tim Hartless has worked with the designers through several revisions. It's my understanding that the first submittal was for a cinder block building. However, we now have something that's much nicer, a brick building with a metal hip roof and decorative cornices. I would note that the location is more convenient to the picnic pavilion. It's right next to it and is also next to the playground on the north end. And the Plan Commission conducted a public hearing on this matter on May 19th, 2022. The Plan Commission, no one spoke in opposition to the request at that time, and on a 5-0 vote, the Commission unanimously voted to recommend approval of the special use permit. I would note that there are no proposed conditions with this special use permit, but we'll make sure that if it is approved tonight, that they will build what was shown and presented to council in the packet.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Rhodes? All right, so this is a public hearing. I'm going to read a statement that the city attorney has drafted for me to read to everyone. Public hearing. In a moment, I will open up the public hearing. It is a time that council sets aside to hear from citizens and others about a specific topic. We ask that you please give your name, your address, and then keep your remarks at 5 minutes or less. When you reach the 5-minute time limit, I will let you know that your time limit has expired. For our Zoom participants, please raise your hand now if you wish to speak on this particular public hearing. If you raise your hand during this public hearing, you will also be able to raise your hand during this council's meeting for other public hearings and matters from the public. And please keep your comments to 5 minutes as well. Once everyone who wishes to speak has had an opportunity, I will then close the public hearing. I will now open the public hearing, so if you wish to speak, please approach the podium, and we'll alternate between individuals physically present and those that have their hands raised via the Zoom platform. So I'll bang the gavel. That'll open up the public hearing. If you're for or against, feel free to come to the podium, state your name, your address, and you have 5 minutes to speak, and then we'll alternate between the folks here in person and then the people that have their hands raised in Zoom. When I bang the gavel a second time, that'll close the public hearing out. With that, the public hearing is officially open. Would anyone like to address the council concerning the bathrooms? Thought everybody would be a lot more excited. I know I am. Welcome.
Hi, Dr. Mary Miller. I just want to say that we're here tonight because the people of Staunton want to be able to see the night sky. It's free unless someone puts a light blocking our view. Please don't let anybody do that.
Okay, now that can be mentioned under matters from the public. We're dealing with the new bathroom facility at Gypsy Hill Park, unless we put a skylight in the bathrooms. But anyway, Mr. Kessler, does anyone have their hands raised?
No, ma'am.
All right, one last time. Anyone from the audience? All right, hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor Oaks.
Councilor Holmes.
I move that council approve the special use permit as recommended by the Planning Commission.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor?
Vice Mayor Robertson.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Kestaker, please call the roll.
Mayor Oaks.
Aye.
Miss Mead.
Aye.
Mr. Holmes.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Miss Doe.
Aye.
Miss Darby.
Aye.
Mr. Claffey.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. That takes us to item C, which is a public hearing and consideration of amendments to various sections of Title 18 zoning of the Staunton City Code, including Chapter 18.83, Entrance Corridor Overlay District, Chapter 18.140, Signs, Billboards, and Advertising Structures, Chapter 18.175, Landscaping and Screening, Chapter 18.10, Definitions, as well as the Entrance Corridor Overlay District Guidelines to provide specific requirements for automobile sales lots. Mr. Blair.
Thank you, Mayor Oaks. Mr. Rhodes, the city senior planner, will present this item as well.
Welcome back.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. At City Council's meeting on March 10th, 2022, Council considered an appeal by McDonough Toyota of a Planning Commission decision to not allow the entrance portal to be internally illuminated. City Council delayed action on the request until June 9th meeting tonight, and I will quote from the minutes from that meeting, during which time staff is requested to develop a zoning text amendment which establishes appropriate standards for automotive dealerships located in the entrance corridor overlay districts. Upon asking for clarification, council noted that the zoning text amendment should address lighting, landscape, parking, and would permit the internal illumination of an entrance portal such as the one at McDonough Toyota. I would note that there are 15 businesses in the entrance corridors that have a license, city and DMV, to sell vehicles. All of them could be subject to the zoning text amendments before you tonight. City Planner Tim Hartless and I prepared these amendments before you tonight, and I will go over them briefly at this time. Under the definitions section, the definitions of parking lot and parking space have been amended to exclude areas used for the display of automobiles for sale. Areas used for parking cars of employees, customers, or those awaiting repair would continue to be considered parking spaces and lots. A definition has been added for a portal and is defined as an architectural structure providing a large and imposing entrance to a building. Also, we made another minor technical change in the definitions regarding the size of a parking space. So obviously that's not related to the issue at hand. However, when we were looking at the definition of parking lot and parking space, we noted that definition had not been corrected. So we amended that to say that a minimum parking size shall be 9 by 18, which is consistent with the changes that City Council made to our off-street parking requirements several years ago. Under landscape and screening, the amendment provides exceptions to the landscape requirements for areas that are used to display automobiles for sale. Perimeter plantings and street trees would not be required, and the area used to display automobiles for sale would not be counted when calculating interior planning requirements. And these basic requirements that they would be exempt from is 1 street tree per 50 feet of street frontage, and that's if the cars for sale are parked next to the street. If it was for employees, customers, they would still need to do the street trees. Also, there's a requirement for a row of street shrubs. Also, there is a requirement that 5% of the parking area shall be landscaped, and that there shall be 1 shade tree per 10 parking spaces. So the proposal, the amendment would exempt auto sales lots from those requirements. As far as the entrance corridor overlay district design standards, the amendment exempts automobile sales lots from the requirement to provide an alternative, such as a permeable surface for excess parking. Also, internal planning requirements or limiting lighting levels at the right-of-way to 0.5 foot candles. 2.0 foot candles would be permitted at the right-of-way. 0.5 foot candles would still be required at all the other property boundaries. The amendment to the design standard permits automobile sales lots to have internally illuminated entrance portals. However, any portions that are internally illuminated shall be classified as a sign. Illumination shall not exceed 5 foot candles. And if the portal is within 5 feet of the building, it will be considered a building mounted sign and not a freestanding sign. Although lighting of building elevations is generally prohibited in the design guidelines or design standards, the amendment permits the lighting of entrance portals for auto sales lots. Under section 18.140 of the zoning code regarding signs, the amendment specifically permits the internal illumination of entrance portals as signage under the entrance corridor overlay design guidelines. In all 3 entrance corridors, the lighting of entrance portals as a light and a lighting level of 2 foot candles at the boundary with a public right-of-way would be permitted. The Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on May 19th, 2022. In advance of the public hearing, emails were received from 22 people noting their opposition to the amendments. And during the public hearing, 6 people spoke in opposition to the request. And on a 5-0 vote, the commission unanimously voted to not recommend approval of the amendments, noting that the amendments would not serve the interest of public necessity, convenience, general welfare, or be good zoning practice. Furthermore, the commissioners stated that the zoning text amendments, 1, should be addressed in accordance with the city's comprehensive plan, which lays out the city's goals, visions, and objectives moving forward. 2, should not be considered separate from the ongoing entrance corridor overlay district design guidelines update. And 3, should not be carved out for one industry. And it was noted that none of the other 14 auto dealerships in the entrance corridor overlays had raised concerns about lighting of signs. In your briefing, staff has drafted 3 potential motions for your consideration. The first one is to deny the ordinance, resolution, and amendments as recommended by the Planning Commission. 2, the second option is to adopt the ordinance, resolution, and all amendments. And the third is to only adopt the amendments regarding the internal illumination of the entrance portal. And I would note, depending on your decision tonight regarding the zoning text amendments, as I noted at the very beginning of this meeting presentation, there is still the issue of the McDonough appeal, which needs to be addressed tonight. I'd be glad to try to answer any questions you have at this time. City Planner Tim Hartless, who is very knowledgeable on the entrance corridor regulation, is also here to help out answer any questions you have or after you conduct a public hearing.
All right. Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Rhodes?
I have one here.
Right, Councilor Terry Holmes.
If we were to approve the lighting by itself, could we ask for a time that it would be turned off, like at closing of the dealership or something like that? Or are we able to make those kind of requirements?
Mr. Blair.
Councilor Holmes, and I'll let Mr. Rhodes come in. I think for number one, yes, you do have the authority to establish a time limit for illumination of these signs. But I think for enforcement purposes, and I would let Mr. Rhodes or Mr. Hartless comment, I think you would want to set time in the ordinance itself for it to be off, because if you just said when the dealer closes, that will be very difficult to ever enforce without a set time.
I was thinking a set time, like, maybe like 9:00 or something like that.
I concur with Mr. Blair's comments on that.
All right. Are there any additional questions? Okay, just like before, I'll bang the gavel. That'll open up the public hearing. We'll start with the audience in person first, and then we'll switch over to Zoom. We'll go back and forth. Just come to the podium, state your name, your address, and you have 5 minutes to speak concerning this matter. With that, the public hearing is now open. Would anyone like to come to the podium and address the council? Hey, welcome.
My name is Cindy Connors. I live at 106A Skyline Avenue, and I've spoken on this topic before, and I spoke at the Planning Commission also. So I'll try to just say it very short. I'm speaking in opposition of adopting any of the portions of this amendment, not even just the lighting part. It's obvious to me from the feedback from the speakers and the people that wrote in, and the fact that the other auto dealers haven't requested this, that this is not something that, as was mentioned in the invocation earlier, doesn't meet the needs of our people. It doesn't serve our community. And many people have spoken. They want to see the dark sky. They don't want to carve out. They don't want the dangerous precedent of allowing just one little industry to have this exemption. And there have been a long list. Frank Strasser's made a wonderfully long presentation at the Planning Commission about all the reasons why lighting this corridor up is not good for the community. And I trust the Planning Commission and their decision, and I hope that the City Council will agree with the Planning Commission's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kessiker, does anyone have their hand raised?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Caller, you may begin.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
This is Ingrid Blanton. I am at 217 North Madison Street. And I, like Ms. Connors, do ask that no part of these amendments to the overlay corridor be adopted, and that rather the vote of the Planning Commission be upheld. I would say here, in addition to her comments, that I thought it was particularly appropriate that Vice Mayor Robertson made his comments today about how a democracy works. And those comments are particularly relevant to this matter. We have a structure in which the Planning Commission, a group of people who are very well versed in the comprehensive plan and the guidelines, have voted repeatedly on this issue and unanimously against these amendments. And we should respect that decision and not do anything in favor of not only a particular industry, but also a single business. I would also, emphasize here, and this is in the vein of speaking about democracy, that all public comments, both written and spoken, I also spoke at the Planning Commission meeting, have been opposed to these amendments. So I ask that the City Council do indeed respect the democratic process by listening to the voices that have spoken and written in opposition to this. Thanks so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Right. Would anyone else from the audience care to address the City Council? Welcome.
I hope I have it straight this time.
It's all good.
I haven't changed my name and I haven't moved, so
Okay.
I'll just say what I said before, and we're here tonight because as people of Staunton want to be able to see the night sky. It's free unless someone puts a blocking light in our view. I ask that you don't let anybody do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kessiker, do we have anyone with their hands raised?
Yes, ma'am.
Caller, you may address the council.
Okay. My name is Linda Chalice, and I live on Spring Hill Road, and I agree with the previous callers. And I was just wondering, why does the City Council even want to consider? I mean, they have a planning commission that voted 3 times against, granting this ordinance. And also, they paid for a commission. They paid for people to actually study this, and now they want to override all that stuff. I'm not sure why do they want to do that? It just doesn't seem right. There is no reason that we should give McDonough special consideration here. We don't need all these lights downtown. I would also agree with Mary. The sky at night is a beautiful thing to see. Why do we need these extra lights? And why do we need to override these other things that we have paid for and voted upon? And the Planning Commission has said that they don't want this. So what's the big deal here? It's not you shouldn't approve this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone from the audience?
Yvonne Wilson, 2017 First Street in Staunton.
I am probably one of the first voices that are going to speak in approval of these amendments, and I'm going to tell you why. I also work as a third party dealing with contracts with dealerships in California. And I'm noticing that people don't understand why there is lighting and certain things are built to certain specifications. Each car company, actually, when they set up a franchise, they do have requirements to set up those franchises. Toyota has their own specifications. GMC has their own specifications. So when you're sitting here and saying all the other dealerships didn't do this, which dealerships are you talking about? Because Toyota is going to be different from GMC, which is going to be different from Daimler Chrysler. Another thing that has not been taken into consideration is security. These are cars used, brand new, and they are also one of the places that are susceptible to vandalism and robbery. Not lighting is going to be necessary so that the cameras that they put in their corridor overlay can see what goes on at night, in the middle of the night, what's going on early in the morning before they go in. They can't hire security. That costs too much money, so they have to depend on the cameras to see at night to make sure that property is still being protected. Third, everybody's talking about the Planning Commission. I don't know the Planning Commission. I don't exactly know what they do, but I'm slowly getting educated. But nobody is considering the business aspect. McDonough Toyota has actually taken initiative, a lot of green initiatives, putting solar panels on their buildings. They actually just signed a contract for having charging stations for their electric cars. So they are really being forward in green initiatives as well. The lighting that is already installed, the standard is 5 candlelights bright. This will be under frosted glass, so it won't interrupt the night sky. You will still see it. But it's still enough lighting so that their cameras and their security can make sure that their property and what they are selling and what they are storing and what they are housing on that property is protected. I just don't think that people are considering that there are so many different aspects. They're not asking to put a spotlight up. Y'all remember back in the day, y'all see car dealerships that had those bright spotlights and you see them in the sky. That's not what he's asking for. He's asking actually for more security. Oh, and by the way, he already spent money for these lights that were in compliance with Toyota, what they desire, the company anyway. And unfortunately, most of the business is leaving Staunton and going to Waynesboro, who has the lighting that he is asking for. So money's not even being spent in the city of Staunton. And like I said, I am all about economic revitalization. That is my mission as running for city council. And we need to make sure that whatever decisions that we make for our business in Staunton meets a nice balance. And I don't see a balance. So to me, I personally think that, yes, you should approve those amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kessiker, does anyone have their hand raised?
Yes, ma'am.
Caller, you may address the council.
Terrific. Hello, everybody. This is David Verde, 125 College Circle. I am sad I'm not there to speak in person and share my mind, but here we are with technology. I just want to first say that I am not in favor of these amendments. This has truly been a waste of resources for the city to accommodate one particular business request to receive some kind of special accommodation for their business. Business friendly does not mean making special accommodations. Business friendly when a city puts the time and effort and money into developing a master plan that is to see out the future long-term goals of the city that is something that we should be using as a guide, and the businesses should be working towards or working together to make those efforts to see that out. If I own a business that could have the footprint that a dealership would have, I would be very willing and thrilled to make those accommodations to have my business be a part of the long-term goal and the planned success of the city, particularly with things that have to do with our dark sky or our interest corridors and what those goals for those to look like. So that way our interest corridors don't look like homogenized nonsense that every other city has. The other thing is that I'm glad that the individual who spoke before came and made some comments about the dealership business. I am not an expert within the dark sky world, but I am a international dark sky advocate. And there are examples of dealerships around the city around the country that have made adjustments willingly or in partnership with cities to have lighting that is within the goals of dark sky communities. They have the lights. I am very aware that there are lighting requirements set forth by dealerships, by the manufacturers, because they want to have the vehicles be visible at nighttime or in the dark that render true color. That's the thing. I work in film. I understand what lighting does, and you don't want to go out and see this car that's supposed to be blue under, gross orangey, not pleasant colors. You want it to be bright. You want to have something that renders it to be the most accurate possible when you're, trying to sell a car in the dark. But those dealerships have made adjustments to where once their business hours have closed, that the lights that then turn on from that point on are 100% within dark sky compliance. They do adjust to a temperature that's more accommodating and within those specifications of dark sky communities. And so they are working together to still satisfy the needs that they need to do as their business, but also after their business hours have concluded, they then shift to lighting that still maintains the safety and concerns that you may have with a parking lot full of brand new vehicles, but they are working with the community and that community's goal. We're talking about massive parking lots that have impermeable surfaces that cause massive stormwater issues. They should be excited, enthusiastic to increase the tree canopy or greenery space within those large parking spaces to help avoid issues like the, let's say the flash flood that happened a few years. Giant empty parking lots or even parking lots that are being used are a contributor to those sorts of situations. But to end my point here, there are examples out there. And lastly, Toyota isn't exactly a brand of vehicles that people are casually just like dropping in. If I'm going to buy a Toyota, I'm probably pretty serious. They aren't exactly the most affordable vehicle out there. So, I don't necessarily need a large bright sign to help me navigate to buy a 4Runner. I'll probably put it into my telephone and the GPS is going to point me there and then I'll go buy it. But anyways, I'll gladly find some examples if you all care. I'll email you and show you some of these examples of other dealerships around the country that have lighting and probably some, greenery and beautification within their giant, massive asphalt parking lot. But again, I do not support this, and I hope you guys vote not in favor for the amendments for this dealership stuff and stick to what the master plan is for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone from the audience care to address the council? Welcome.
Good evening. My name's, can everybody hear me okay? My name's John Wilson. I live at 701 Gypsy Avenue here in Staunton. You'll note that is an address that is not in an HOA, and it's for this reason. Steve McDonough has a business. As long as he isn't breaking laws, I don't see why we're telling him how he runs his business. I don't see why we're telling him how to light his business. McDonough Toyota or any of the dealers in the city are either an independent, which means that they sell used cars, or they're a franchise. Now, they might either own the vehicles or they get paid after they sell. But they carry a lot of insurance, and they have to because of the value of the merchandise that they have. And one of the ways that they protect that is by lighting it. The previous caller, I appreciate his comments as a someone who's in the film or camera, I'm not exactly sure which, camera industry or whatever. He mentioned lighting is great for eye candy, but it's also about safety. Now, I worked at Paul Obaugh Ford for a little over a year selling cars. If you've ever had the pleasure of dealing with Paul Obaugh buying a car, I've seen the man block people in on the when business is going to make the sale. Some people like to go to dealerships. This might surprise the night peepers. Some people like to go shop at night so that they don't have to deal with, no offense, so that they don't have to deal with salespeople. But they should be safe in doing so. And a dealership's merchandise should be safe. The idea that we're befuddled that a dealership would want to light its merchandise when they're not there is a bit like being upset that a Crown Jewelers downtown would light their display cases and inside. You want to see if people are milling about at night and doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing. If you're following Staunton organizing here, a few months ago, there were 5 or 6 posts. I might have that wrong, but there were a number of posts about people stealing catalytic converters. This is something that's happening. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but I've heard that Charlie Obaugh himself has had to deal with this on his lot. Lighting can help prevent this. It's not a guarantee, but the more light you have, people are less likely to commit crimes. That just seems pretty simple to me. Again, as a franchisee, the McDonough's hands are tied when this whole process started. They presented a plan that was approved for all Toyota dealerships that were franchisees in that year moving forward. My understanding is that they purchased the equipment and then they were told that they couldn't do it. So how are they going to be made whole? I think the lighting's about safety. Personally, I don't see it as a detractor. I don't find it aesthetically displeasing. Dealerships are a part of what makes the American skyline the American skyline. I don't think we should forget our automotive history in this country as well. I think there can be compromise, and I'm running out of time. Perhaps we don't approve everything. I'm a little shocked that people don't understand why a dealership might need parking lots for their cars, but there is, if I'm not mistaken, the ability for you all to approve just the lighting. This seems like a simple compromise. The last thing that I will say, I believe genuinely that it's a shame that the other dealerships are not here. Many of them are not open on Sunday as a gentleman's agreement. And I think that that's great. They should be here in support of them. And at some point, they are going to have to do an update. And they may wish that they could avail themselves of what the McDonough's are fighting for right now. Thank you, and I'll yield back time.
Thank you. Mr. Kessinger, does anyone have their hand raised?
No, ma'am.
Right. Would anyone else from the audience care to address the council?
Hello, my name is Gretchen Bishop, and I live on Institute Street. I really wanted to address some of the comments made by Mr. Wilson and Ms. Wilson. Ironically, I think you both are Wilsons, right? Yeah. Because I think some of them are perhaps not true. And I would encourage you to make sure that you got this fact straight. I'm not an expert, so don't depend on me, but I would ask a few things. One is, I believe when Mr. McDonough made his request to light the portal, he didn't give a rationale except that he wanted to. He didn't say that it was hurting his business. He didn't say that Toyota required the lighting of portals, and we know from other communities that have such portals, they aren't all lit. He didn't cite security concerns. He really didn't cite anything except he wanted to do it. He put in the portal when the overlay guidelines were in effect, so he should not have been able to claim ignorance. And I would ask how lighting the portal itself is a security issue. That's not the kind of lighting that would provide security in a parking lot. Now, I also wonder why auto dealerships should be privileged businesses. Right now, these kind of portals at car dealerships are a big deal. We see them all over the place. How do we know that down the road, a Benjamin Moore paint store might want a portal, or a Habitat store, or a Long John Silver? Why? And then they're going to want to light them. I mean, it sounds preposterous, but years ago, there weren't portals like this on car dealerships. So things can change. And I think you're going down a slippery slope to change the rules for one class of business. And I would urge you to think about that, because we could be paying the consequences of that down the road. And that's not a road any of us want to go down. So thank you so much for allowing all of us the opportunity to express our views, and for considering all of them with, I trust, the due consideration that they deserve. And I hope that when you do make a decision, that you will explain it to the public, because we really do want to know why you decide what you do. And I think regarding the comments about the democracy, that perhaps is some of the complaint, is that sometimes rationales are not provided, and that makes people more upset. So thank you very much, and look forward to seeing what you're going to do.
Thank you. Mr. Kessiker.
No, ma'am.
Right. Would anyone else from the audience? Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Mark Brooks. I do not live in Staunton. I actually work in Staunton. I work at McDonough Toyota. But the first thing I want to mention is, through conversations I've had with several individuals within the city, I think there's some confusion as to which sign it is that we're speaking of. This isn't a fixed light to the building, of which, in all honesty, when the dealership or when the showroom is lit up, you can actually see the lighting of the showroom through the smoked glass better than you can see the portal. However, I want to ask for a variance to the entrance portal overlay. McDonough Toyota has been in business, as you guys know, since 1975. So 47 years, Mr. McDonough here started the business. We're not a big conglomerate. It's a family-owned business. It stayed in Staunton. It's the last of two new car dealers in the city. So it's also obvious that driving through, on Richmond Road and Greenville Avenue, that many exceptions have been made to this rule in the past, not just with dealers. Speaking of which, I feel like the dealerships are here because we kind of have to be. Nobody's going to come up or the rule's not going to change itself. So we have to come up here and fight for what it is we feel like is just. So get this light turned on. But there are several lights on the road there that are much brighter than this portal. The portal itself, again, is affixed. It is away from the street. I'm not going to tell you it's extremely subtle, but it is subtle. Through talking to Mr. McDonough, both Frank and Steve, as well as some of the other folks that come into the dealership, it does help. More individuals come into the dealership, or at least come onto the lot after hours to look at cars, because, like they said, nobody wants to be hassled by a car salesman, or the perception they're in. So, we do have lights on the lot. The portal, however, would help with that. Most of the cars, if we have any cars in this current day and age, are parked close to the building for that reason. So the security is a precaution there. But let's see, a lot of these companies that have these bright lights on the Richmond Road, for example, haven't been here as long as we have. Such signs as, maybe the Frontier Culture sign on George or Cochran, or Parkway there, or the Citibank message board that continuously reads words and letters all night long. As an example, the water tree at the underpass, I love that thing. It's beautiful. It's just as bright, if not more bright, than this portal, I assure you. So that's my piece on that. I thank you for your time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Mr. Kessinger, do we have any hands raised?
No, ma'am.
All right. Would anyone else from the Sarah?
Hi, Sarah Holberg, 24 Church Street. I didn't plan to speak tonight, partly because that issue is out here. Not everybody comes to public hearing, but just people that I hear from, or I just commented to one of my children, I got to go. I got to get off the phone. I'm thinking of going to a public hearing and explain what was going on. And they were just like, really? Sounds just so unnecessary, so strange. And so as a planner, I just wanted to say I've looked at a lot of zoning ordinances in my life, and I don't remember ever coming across this type of thing where you pull out one business type and exempt it from a slew of regulations that apply to all the other businesses. It's not you talk about a slippery slope, a can of worms. If you do that, zoning ordinances are so complex. They're hard enough anyway. And this is just does not seem like a solution at all. It seems more like a problem. And I also would say I would separate the consideration of the portal from making all these blanket changes to the zoning ordinance. And, for the record, I agree with the Planning Commission's reasoning, and I feel there are other avenues to deal with this. I'm not against Mr. McDonough. I should have brought my keychain that says McDonough Toyota on it. And I come from a family of small businesses, and I'm a property owner, so I'm very sensitive to trying to be business friendly and trying to work with and accommodate businesses. But I do think the zoning ordinance changes, I would be very against this type of format. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kessinger.
No, ma'am.
Welcome.
Welcome, Council. I'm Dave Metz. I live at 15 Augusta Street. I would like to use an example tonight for 3 reasons that I would request that you deny this change in the ordinance. A couple months ago, I went to Hilton Head, South Carolina. When you go down I-95 in South Carolina, there is no rules for anything. But you turn off to go to Hilton Head, and you've got a 20-mile corridor that before you get to Hilton Head, everything is protected. It's landscaped. It's lighting protected. You have to get back off the street. There is a requirement for portals for signs that have to be monument signs over as opposed to the big signs. The biggest thing is that I think the reason that this has been brought up is the fact that our corridor overlay ordinance is viewed by some as anti-business. Well, I would suggest if that 20-mile corridor to Hilton Head is anti-business, I'm missing something, because it is the most heavily business place you could find, and everything is landscaped and the lighting is protected. And probably the most extreme example is the Red Roof Inn doesn't have a red roof in Hilton Head. It didn't hurt it. It didn't hurt it at all. The second reason that I would ask that you deny this request tonight is because I think your Planning Commission has looked at this extremely well. They're very talented people who've spent a lot of time on this. And your job is a multi-job. You have to deal with ordinances. You have to deal with the issues of the budget. You have to deal with people like me coming up and suggesting things. But I think the Planning Commission had a really good take on this. And just what Sarah just said, as far as we start changing ordinances, we're talking an increase of 4 times the amount of lighting in this ordinance. I think if I was Food Lion, I'd say, what about me? I want 4 times the lighting. I can bring people in here. And also what didn't get mentioned tonight was the implications to the landscaping. We've done a pretty good job since we asked that we put the corridor overlay in, that people are starting to landscape. And I think it really makes it a special place. We've really spent a lot of time and effort to make Staunton as a desirable place. I'm very fond of going to the tourism advisory boards and to hear the comments that are coming from owners of the B&Bs and Shakespeare and the Frontier Culture Museum. We're bringing in so many outside people. They have to come in these corridors. We don't want those corridors to look like any place in the U.S. We want it to look like Staunton. So please, people, deny this request. Keep the ordinances we got. It does a good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kessiker.
No, ma'am.
Would anyone else from the audience care to address the City Council concerning this matter? Welcome, Mr. Foster.
My name is Albino Albert Foster. I live at 401 Bowling Street. I come to these meetings here, and I'm amazed at all of the conversations that go on and all of the decision-making that goes on. You have a planning board that makes decisions for you. You either recommend them and keep them, or you get rid of them and bring in people that you want to agree with you. If you want Staunton to look like a carnival, then fine, put up all the lighting. Lighting never stopped criminals. In fact, if anything, it encouraged criminals to come over and do their little work. You are 7 people. You have an opportunity to get together and avoid a lot of animosity and make a decision. The truth. You know the difference between what's right and what's wrong. What do you want your city to look like? A carnival? And have it named Carnival Staunton? Or do you want it to be a peaceful, tranquil city? These businesses with all of these lights and so forth are way, way out of order. Try something different. You can't satisfy everybody, but you were elected to provide government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Not for businesses necessarily. They have to make adjustments and they have to live with them. Having a place like a carnival doesn't improve business.
Thank you. Mr. Kessiker.
No, ma'am.
All right. Would anyone else from the audience care to address the council? Right. Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Council, you have 3 different proposed motions before you, and I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor Oakes,
Councilor Meade.
I move the council deny the ordinance, resolution, and amendments as recommended by the Planning Commission.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
This is Carolyn Dahl. I'll second that.
All right, we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Kessiker, please call the roll.
Mayor Oakes.
No.
Ms. Meade.
Aye.
Mr. Claffey.
No.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
No.
Ms. Stowe.
Aye.
Ms. Darby.
No.
Mr. Holmes.
Aye.
Motion fails.
So the motion has failed. I'll entertain a second motion.
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Claffey.
I move the council adopt the ordinance resolution and approve the amendments as drafted by staff.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor.
Councilor Darby.
I will second that motion.
All right. We have a second. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
This is Brenda Meade.
Councilor Meade.
So in addition to the reasons cited by the Planning Commission, I'd like to say we had recently the Newtown Neighborhood Association presentation to City Council outlining, and this is, as I mentioned in the meeting, the third time that the Newtown Neighborhood Association has made this presentation to the city about the benefits of limiting lighting, about the benefits of dark skies to both humans and animals in communities, and many people have expressed their desire to see the night sky, which we cannot do when we have excessive lighting. So we heard that presentation 3 times, and at the end of the presentation, I asked the members of the association, what could the city do to promote the kind of lighting programs, the dark skies, that the association would like us to see? And they said the city could be a leader. We could be a leader in promoting the notion that less lighting is better, not more lighting. And so this is an opportunity for us to be leaders, because otherwise, I'd suggest that we not invite the Newtown Neighborhood Association to continue to make these presentations. It would be hypocrisy to continue to ask them to come forward and make a presentation about lighting. Second, I'd like to say that, as mentioned before, there are, I believe, 15 car dealers in the city of Staunton. Most of them are used car dealers. Most of them are businesses that have been here for many, many years. And they don't, because they've been here as long as they have, many of them don't comply and aren't required to comply with our entrance corridor overlay because they're grandfathered in. Those businesses would be permitted to expand lighting, increase lighting, and reduce landscaping if this ordinance is passed. We've been talking about, and 4 of these businesses are in the West End. We've been talking about investing in the West End, investing in revitalization, investing in beautification. Is this going to help the West End? I don't think so. And in future, if more car dealers decide to locate, used car dealers or new cars decide to locate in the West End, they'll have the same opportunities to build these portals, increase lighting, reduce landscaping. I don't think that's good. That's not good for the West End, nor is it good for any other part of the city. And finally, I want to say that this ordinance, as I implied just a minute ago, would have lasting impact, sometimes decades, because once a business complies with an ordinance, with an existing ordinance, it is not required, if that ordinance is updated in the future, to change their lighting, to reduce their lighting, for instance. So we're going backwards with this ordinance, not going forward. We are not leading in appreciating the benefits of dark skies.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Councilor Holmes.
If we're going to pass this, is there a possibility to put a limitation on the time, the lighting, and say it has to be turned off at 9 p.m. or something like that? Because at least that way, once everybody is, by 9 or 10 o'clock, everybody's settled in their homes. At least, if we're going to pass this, to put some time limit on when the light is on.
Mr. Blair?
Again, that's up to the council.
Right, Madam Mayor.
Vice Mayor Robertson?
All right, Councilor Meade, this is a divergence of ideas, or a divergence of thought. I actually think it would help the West End. You say it wouldn't. I believe it would. The other thing that blows my mind is that, as most of us know, back here several months ago, the Planning Commission asked McDonough to turn on that portal. I think for a week.
In January.
In January. Now, I know many people may totally disagree with me, but I got off work at Augusta and I drove up, and I'm sorry, but I had to laugh out loud in the car. And I said, that is what they're making all the fuss over? That is the softest glow I have ever seen. And you're making a big deal about a glow. I know you don't agree. That's all right. But I laughed. And I'm sorry to the Planning Commission. I understand. But in this councilor's point of view, it was wrong 10 years ago. It was wrong 5 years ago. And it's wrong tonight, in my point of view. And I will be voting yay.
Madam Mayor.
Councilor Claffey.
Today I also got an email from a friend of mine who said that he's had a recent conversation with a developer who said he'd never develop in the city of Staunton because we have a tendency to say no. And it struck me to the core that we've tried to be business friendly. I ran on this campaign years ago. The idea is we've got to stop saying no to everybody. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. We want to encourage businesses to relocate to Staunton, Virginia. We had the Toyota Corporation outline their plans of what they think needs to be set up. And the city of Staunton says, no, you can't do that. So where are the car dealerships going? They're in Augusta County. They're across the line. They're in Waynesboro. They're not coming to Staunton because we say no. And I'm begging you all, this does not affect downtown Staunton. Our historic district will remain the same. But this hopefully is sending a message that Staunton is open for business. You come to Staunton, we need your tax generated dollars. So please, let's vote for this under the auspices that we're making Staunton better. We're opening it up for business, and we're going to allow people to develop their business as they best see fit in an appropriate place. And car dealerships are going to want to go to corridors where there's traffic. Let them go. Let them do what they want to do.
Madam Mayor. Go ahead.
Councilor Clapp. Excuse me, I did that to you again. Councilor Amy Darby.
I just want to say that, I've been to lots of other cities in Virginia and have seen with my own eyes that other Toyota dealerships that have the entrance portal lit up. And frankly, I noticed when it was lit here in Staunton, I thought it was very pleasing to the eye. I did not see anything wrong with it. And, I find that this industry in particular, they're good contributors to, the city's economy, and they're good community partners. And I think I disagree with Ms. Mead too, that, I would be thrilled to death if by changing this ordinance, if somehow that prompted, a new car dealership to go in on the West End. I think that would be a wonderful thing. Because right now, obviously we don't have that kind of growth there. So, I understand that people aren't going to be happy with this, but I agree. I think that this is the right decision for Staunton. I think we all agree that we love Staunton. We just might look at things a little differently, but I support this and will be voting in favor of this.
Madam Mayor.
Councilor Holmes.
Mr. McDonough, would you have a problem turning the light off at a certain time at night? I said, would you have a problem if we let you light the sign that you would turn it off at a certain hour, like 9 or 10 o'clock at night?
Yeah, Terry, could I, as a matter of compromise,
huh?
I'm a little more lenient. Could you agree to midnight? Shut it off at midnight.
But I think that's too.
Huh?
Yeah, I think that
All right, 10 o'clock. You all right with 10?
that's better than midnight.
All right, Mr. Blair, can we make the...
Okay, if that's the council, all right. So right now, Mr. Claffey has made a motion. If you would like to change this and Mr. Rhodes has anything to add, I believe on page 4, it's numerate 4. There could be a sentence, you could make a motion to amend to add a sentence that automobile sales lot entrance portals shall not be lit between the hours of 10 p.m. and
dusk? I mean, because that can, as shifting. Dawn.
And dawn.
Yeah, dusk to dawn.
Well,
Or
again,
10
p.m. to maybe 8 a.m.
Yeah, that's fine.
Something like that. Again, so it's.
Will that work?
But I would ask planning staff if that is enforceable.
Yes, we could enforce that. Of course, we handle violations on a complaint basis. So if we got a complaint, then we would certainly go out there and see if it's still illuminated at 10:01 or at 7:59 a.m.
Okay.
So yes, we could do that.
Okay.
So, if Councilor Claffey is agreeable to this, would you want to amend your motion?
Well, no. What you would need is an amendment to the main motion of what I just said.
Okay, which Councilor Claffey can do.
No, he made the main motion.
Okay, so he can, okay, all right.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you for the point of order. All right, Vice Mayor Roberts.
If my friend is amenable, I'd like to amend the motion to allow the lighting, or that it would not be on from 10 p.m. till 8 a.m.
And for clarity purposes, that would be on page 4 of the discussion draft in your packets under numerate 4. A sentence would be added again that would prohibit the illumination of the automobile sales lot entrance portals between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m.
Okay. All right.
All right, so it's agreeable because it was seconded by Councilor Claffey.
Oh, I hate to be the parliamentarian.
Oh, right.
He can't second. Someone else would need to second.
All right, thank you for the point of order. All right, so we have a second by Councilor Holmes. So there's a motion on the floor. There's a second as far as an amendment to the original motion. Any further discussion?
Yes, I'd like to add something. When Frank Strassler spoke at the Planning Commission meeting and spoke extensively, as it was noted previously, he finished his remarks by saying, if business is friendly to the entire community and to the entire community's wishes, that's good for business. If it's business versus the community, that can't be good for business. It just can't be.
Well, hopefully by supporting the businesses, it will help in turn to support the community. They can go hand in hand. Mr. Kessiker, please call the roll.
Ms. Dahl.
No.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Ms. Mead.
No.
Mr. Holmes.
Aye.
Mr. Claffey.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. All right, that takes us on to matters from the...
Well, hold on.
Madam Mayor.
Oh, that's right. I still have the other one.
was-
We still have the other one.
No, okay, so now Mr. Claffey's motion has been amended with Mr. Holmes' addition. You would still need a vote on the main motion
All right, let's get
as
that.
amended.
Let's get that done.
This is Carolyn Dole. I haven't had an opportunity to say anything on this original motion. And, you know, as Mr. Claffey said, sending a message to business. And as the four of you have indicated that business is more important than the people, I never want to hear any of you say you're listening to the people again, because clearly we had emails, we had letters, we had phone calls, and they were all in opposition to doing this. And you ignored all the people, even though you heard them, but you weren't listening. And I guess the message that we're sending tonight is, if you have money and power and are by your name, these four will get you whatever you want.
Are there any additional comments? All right. Mr. Blair, I can now ask Mr. Kessaker to call the roll.
To call the roll again, this is the main motion as amended.
All right. Mr. Kessaker, please call the roll.
Ms. Dole.
No.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Ms. Mead.
No.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
Mr. Holmes.
Aye.
Mr. Claffey.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you. Now,
we do need, as a council, you have amended the zoning code to, again, permit entrance portals, the entrance corridors, to allow these portal signs to be illuminated between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. The reason this came before you originally was that McDonough Toyota appealed a decision of the Planning Commission, which denied their request for illuminating the portal. For legal purposes, again, and Mr. Rhodes in the packet has two motions. I still believe, even though it technically is moot, I believe you can't leave an appeal outstanding without some action. So I think the council needs to take action on Mr. McDonough's specific appeal.
okay. All right. So in that case, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor Oakes,
Councilor Amy Darby.
I move to overturn the decision of the Planning Commission and grant McDonough Toyota's appeal and permit the internal illumination of the cabinet portal sign to the greatest extent possible within the limitations of SCC 18.140.0404C.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I've got a question. Just now, that incorporates what we just.
Right.
It does.
It does. Yeah. Madam Mayor.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, this is Carolyn Dole. I'd like to add the fact that the only two people who spoke tonight in favor of any of this was the Republican candidate for the school board and the Republican candidate for city council.
All right. Any further discussion? Mr. Blair, are we okay to have Mr. Kessaker call the roll?
If there's no other discussion.
All right. No other discussion? Mr. Kessaker, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Ms. Mead.
No.
Mr. Holmes.
Aye.
Mr. Claffey.
Aye.
Ms. Dole.
No.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you. Now, Mr. Blair, we're okay to move on. All righty. Next is matters from the acting interim city manager. Mr. Blair.
Mayor Oakes, tonight, Ms. Beauregard is at the Virginia Local Government Management Association, and I think I speak on behalf of staff. We hope she has a restful and insightful conference, and there are no other matters from the city manager's office tonight.
All right. Thank you. That takes us to matters from the public. This part of City Council's agenda is entitled Matters from the Public. It is a time that Council sets aside to hear from citizens and others about a wide variety of subjects. A copy of the Staunton City Council's Matters from the Public rules are available in paper form at the clerk's desk and online at the City of Staunton's webpage. You are asked to familiarize yourself with those rules before commenting. Please come to the podium or begin your call. Identify yourself and complete your remarks within 5 minutes. All right. The matters from the public is now open, and we'll start with the folks in the audience. Would anyone from the audience care to address the council?
My name is the same. My address is the same. And I came to join Mr. Robertson in talking about politics. And as you know, I'm interested in healthcare and I'm interested in prevention. So this is about the COVID pandemic. Early on, African Americans and Latinos deaths outnumbered white deaths. Early on, African American deaths were about twice as high as white and Asian Americans. Over the past year, while white deaths are now 14 times greater than African Americans and 72 times greater than Latinos. Vaccination rates are higher for both African Americans and Latinos than whites. The share of Americans who have received COVID vaccine has barely budged since last summer. And why is that? It's because of politics. 60% of adult Republicans are vaccinated. 60%. 75% of independents are vaccinated. 75%. 90% of Democrats are vaccinated. In conservative communities, leaders have not done as good a job of explaining the benefits of vaccines. And many conservative media figures, politicians, and clergy members had amplified false or misleading information about vaccines. Thus, millions of Americans have chosen not to receive a life-saving vaccine. I've heard it said, keep the guns out of the hands of bad people. Suicide rates are actually higher than homicide rates. Are they all bad people? You may have heard of PTSD, but may not know much about it. Many veterans have it. 23 veterans commit suicide every day. Most are with guns. Are these veterans bad people? An assault rifle, made for the purpose of killing people, was bought legally and beheaded 2 of the 20 children murdered in Uvalde, Texas. Bills for gun safety are not predicted to pass in the United States Senate. I guess we don't care about children or people, or I don't know. I don't get it. But thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kessicker, does anyone have their hand raised?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Caller, you may address the council.
Good evening. This is again Ingrid Blanton at 217 North Madison Street. I opted to watch and participate in this city council meeting rather than watch the January 6th hearings because I held some small hope that while democracy definitely seems imperiled at the national level, that perhaps at the local level it would prevail. It is extremely disappointing to watch the majority of this city council cast aside the thoughtful, repeated judgments of the Planning Council, as well as the overwhelming majority of your citizens who have expressed opposition to changes on the corridor overlay. It is with great sadness that I have to say I despair greatly for the future of Staunton as a city, as the Queen City. Thanks for listening to my comments, and I certainly hope that you take them to heart because this is a true problem at every level of this nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone from the audience care to address the city council? Welcome back.
Thanks. Cindy Connors, 106A Skyline Avenue, proud West End resident. I struggle to talk at the microphone when I'm emotional, and I'm going to have to say that you wouldn't think that a lighting and entrance portal at a Toyota dealer would be emotional. But that's not what I'm emotional about. It's that we talked about democracy at the beginning of this meeting. The citizens clearly, who care about this issue, clearly didn't want the city council to do this change. There's so many comments I hear about I campaigned on being pro-business. But I was a resident of Staunton, a registered voter during the last election, and the campaign literature I received talked about caring about the West End and other things that community people would care about. And this is as anti-West End as a motion could be. If we start having even more lit up, tacky, lack of landscaping, lack of permeable landscape, all that other stuff in the West End, it's only going to serve to decrease any possibility to revitalize it on the West End. And I heard Councilwoman Darby say that she would love to see a dealership on the West End. Well, I've attended the West End meetings with the EPA brownfield grant and other things like that. I participated in a survey, and I don't recall a single person saying they wanted a dealership on the West End. And again, I go back to, it's not just about this particular portal. It's also about carving out some specialty thing just because an individual asks. I've really never been at a city council meeting where there was like that kind of negotiation across the room before about a thing when most of the people in the room didn't want it. I'm very confused, disappointed about the whole process. And there's no one in this room more pro Staunton business than I am. I spend as much of my time and my income in Staunton as I can. And I totally support businesses, but we don't need flashy lights, etc., to do that. If somebody wants a Toyota, they're going to buy it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kessler, do we have anyone at there? All right. Would anyone else from the audience? Welcome back.
Yvonne Wilson, 2017 First Street. I'm very confused how not wanting a dealership or any kind of business of that nature not wanted to be on the West End. You know, my campaign is about economic revitalization and reform. And the West End is a very depressed part of Staunton. And the things that they do need is economic stimulation. Businesses bring jobs. Jobs bring consumerism. Consumerism balances out.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Excuse me.
Brings economic stability. I think a lot of people just have some sort of negative feeling against car dealerships because a lot of people have dealt with the smarmy salesman and they're trying to sell everything to you and blah, blah, blah. But nail salons get to have lighting too. So do food places, which also have brighter lights than what's at the corridor at McDonough. I don't understand. I really think this is not an argument about economics at all. Now that I think about it, this is about some sort of personal or political ideologies that are warring against each other. That's what it really is. And this is damaging to Staunton no matter what side you're on. Yes, I am on the side of McDonough, but I am also on the side of people bringing themselves up higher than where they are, and this is not working. There's always an agenda with these arguments. Do you want Staunton to be unified and progress or not? And I'm seeing certain people from a certain side of ideology that is always arguing with the other. Personally, if you guys really cared about the West End, then maybe when I come to you and ask you to sign my petition, don't ask me what my political affiliation is and then refuse to sign it. How about that? It shouldn't matter what my political affiliation is. It matters how I want Staunton to look in 5 years. It matters that we have some semblance of decorum and balance to make this city great. And there are a few of you that are not allowing that because you're stuck in your ideology. And you'll stay there. I am a Black conservative running for city council, but I'm not here for conservatives or liberals. I'm here for the city. And the only people that are going to be holding back the city of Staunton are the ones that will stay stuck in their ideology. I won't be the one. I want public safety to be number one, not who's Democrat or Republican. I want economic revitalization for the city, especially for the West End, not Democrat or Republican. None of that should matter at this point. We all live here. We all eat here. We all shop here. We all sleep here. So please, citizens and city council, balance it. Stop letting ideology make your decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kessiker, do we have?
Yes, ma'am.
Caller, you may address the city council.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Dan Bates. I live at 411 Austin Avenue. I wanted to hit a positive note and call in to speak to the success of Staunton Jams last weekend. I had the pleasure of volunteering for the event, and I got to see a ton of talented local musicians perform. It's been a really long time since I've seen so many hugs, dancing, smiles, and conversation amongst the people of our city. It was truly a sight to see, especially after the disconnected time we've all had over the last few years due to COVID. Music brings people together. The new organizers of the event managed to pull off a 6-venue all-day event that featured 25 acts ranging from street performers to headlining bands. I would like to publicly appreciate the talented creatives we have in this area and ask that the city does anything in its power to foster that creativity. There's something in the water here, and the city and its downtown businesses have a lot to gain by supporting events like this as much as they can. Business owners downtown saw increased revenue from attendees, perusing from stage to stage, and local vendors had a successful day as well. I'm sure you recognize that increased revenue to businesses also means more tax revenue for the city. With proper management and the city's assistance, this could become a beautiful showcase of everything Staunton has to offer, highlighting our awesome downtown area and its lovely shops and restaurants, as well as the amazing musicians that we have so many of. I think it's in everyone's best interest to have the city on the side of Staunton Jams to ensure safety and good times for all. The best part is that attendance was free, the artists got paid, and everybody had a fantastic time. The city really needs as much of this as we can get in order to really help us come together as a community for what appears to be more troubling times ahead. I want to acknowledge Molly Murphy and Bill Howard of the Judy Chops for doing such a great job planning this event. All of the day's events were run professionally and went very smoothly, which is impressive for the first time organizing it. They should be really proud of themselves. I ask that the city keeps an eye out for future events like this and makes permitting as simple as possible so that future guests can have the safest possible time dancing their booties off. Also, since I'm on this call, I want to thank the City Council for moving forward with the DEI Commission. I trust that this commission can help us reduce blind spots and build a stronger sense of community for all the people of Staunton. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else from the audience care to address the City Council? No? Okay. All right. Well, with that, as the mayor of the city of Staunton, I call the Staunton City Council meeting of June 9th, 2022, adjourned.